afternoon for the Ohio Chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony and dinner. This banquet is held in honor of Ohio recipients for their years of service as positive role models to our student athletes. These men have given countless hours instilling in young people the skills needed to succeed in wrestling as well as in life. The Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award is given to a coach, official, or contributor for their years of dedication to wrestling, and the recipients will permanently be enshrined in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in Stillwater, Oklahoma. How many people have been to Stillwater, Oklahoma? I would recommend that you put this on your bucket list to get out, if you have a love of wrestling, to see that magnificent place. It is truly worth the trip. If you really love wrestling and want to understand the history and the heritage of wrestling in the United States, you need to get out there and take a look at it. I received a letter in the mail about 6 months ago from a young man who I had made a writer for a wrestling newspaper that my wife and I started in the state of Wisconsin in 1972. It was called The CrossFits. He is now one of the primary writers for the Wisconsin State Journal for their sports section of their paper. And he wrote me a note to thank me for what I had done for him beginning back in 1972. And on the front of the card it said, "Praise the bridge that carried you over." Where do we get direction and purpose in our life? How do we choose the path, any path, let alone the right path? What is the most powerful force in the world that we know today? And I describe to this theory that it is influence. People who influence change attitudes. And when you change attitudes, you change performance and you change outcome. The most precious and sought-after reward for the men we are going to honor today were not trophies, not recognition, not citations, not money, not fame, not glory. These men did not have remarkable careers because they wanted to be remembered. They wanted others to have memorable lives. Their highs come in the enhanced performance and achievement of others. If you ask every single one of them why they did it, that is exactly what they would tell you. They could have an impact. After the limelight has faded, and history may have forgotten, we are measured most by the differences we have made in the lives of others. These men stand among their peers for what they have done as sportsmen and mentors, but they stand taller for what they have been as men. We know them as caring men who did not excel to be honored, but who honored all of us by excelling. Because of these men, we know that work ethic means something. Because of these men, we know that drive, determination, and commitment mean everything. And because of these men, we know that loyalty, integrity, and honesty mean nothing unless you display them every day of your life. We are here today to celebrate men who have had this impact on others in our sport. We are here to praise them as teachers and as coaches and as friends because they turned "I think I can" into "I know I can." And they molded "I might" into "I will." And they caused the I would have, and I should have, and I could have, to become I did. This is a special time. I am honored to be here to help enshrine and to recognize men that have, for me, been role models in my own career. I have watched them from the side. I've been a part of what they have accomplished. I have witnessed it, and I am very glad I am here today to help share in the honor. Before we get started in any other direction, I would like to have Bobby Douglas, a fellow member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, a distinguished member, to come up here and to address you.
Remarks. I don't think I've ever heard wrestling praised in such a manner by such a distinguished warrior as Russ Hellickson. I had a short conversation with Russ not long ago. I think it may have been 6 months ago. And when I got off the phone, I said, you know, I've known Russ a long time. There was something in his voice that was a little different. And Russ had shared some things with me that I won't go into, but believe me, when I saw Russ, it's like a new person. He's energized, and he's bringing that energy to this family of wrestling friends, former wrestlers, and parents, grandparents, and great-great-grandparents. It's this type of spirit that Russ is generating that saved wrestling in the Olympic Games. Had it not been for guys like Russ Hellickson, wrestling would have been gone. He stands for something that all of our kids should strive to stand for, including myself. I've known Russ when I've seen the ugly Russ when we were opposite each other in a pitched battle of wrestling. And I've been mad enough to choke him. But
That's we're man enough to do it.
He stole my line. Well, I just left the Soviet Union, a small town named Matteucci. They want to do a cultural exchange with America. They want to do it specifically somewhere near Russ Hellickson. The guy that asked to do that is a guy by the name of Pennigan. He told me to tell Russ Hellickson we want to do a sister city. We want to come to Ohio. I don't know, but I think they've been here before because everywhere I went, everybody knew who I was and everybody wanted to come to Ohio. So I'm going to let Russ lead that charge. I think they've recently discovered a lot of oil around that area, so they're going to have money. They may not have it yet. It's a wonderful relationship that was developed by guys like Russ Hellickson. It's an honor for me to be here, and I want to tell you, we're not out of the woods. Wrestling is in trouble. We're in deep trouble. There's a good chance that wrestling will go after the 20 Olympics unless something happens. And we're going to try to make that happen by energizing our kids, by spreading the message, by being more inclusive. I think this is the third class for the Hall of Fame. Where are the women? There's no woman in the Ohio Hall of Fame? Handicap. I think we had a handicap, Dustin Carter, a great example of what wrestling does for kids. We have an opportunity to take wrestling to the next level. If we don't, I guarantee you wrestling will die in the Olympic Games. It's because of people like yourself, people like the state of Ohio, which has produced perhaps 5 presidents that were Olympic or wrestlers. The first white man to enter this place called the wilderness was George Washington. I think he was a wrestler. I heard he was. I read about it. He was the father of our country. Leadership. Ulysses S. Grant, was he not from here? Somewhere around there. What about McKinley? Taft, Harding, Hoover? That's 5 presidents that were all wrestlers. That's Ohio. They're all from Ohio. There's something in the DNA of Ohio wrestlers. I out-recruited Ohio State in the state of Ohio. I lived in the state of Ohio for recruiting. I would take the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th guys just to get a Buckeye because I knew what I was getting. I feel the energy tonight. I just want to let you know that wrestling needs your help or we will die. To the honorees, I don't know what took them so long. I'll hear from some of my old friends why they're not in the Hall of Fame. I've tried hard to get some of these guys in the Hall of Fame, but there are so many Buckeyes that are deserving of going to the Hall of Fame. It's going to be a long, long time before we can make up for all the lost time. We're 20 years behind the original state chapter of the Hall of Fame, and yet we're the #1 state in the nation for Division I prospects. Right, Russ?
Right.
If there's a, really, is that right?
Yeah.
Ohio has the most Division I wrestlers in the United States. The problem is about almost 10 or 15% of those guys are going to sign professional football contracts. So we lose that large number. But we can include the girls. Ohio is dominating in wrestling from the feminine side. There's some girls that can flat-ass wrestle. And we want to give them that opportunity because they're going to grow in numbers, and they are going to be the mothers of future wrestling. That's how they do it in Yakutia. We're going to take what they do, we're going to bring them here and share in some of their development programs, and let our business people share in some of that gold and silver and diamonds that the Russians are sitting on. But I'm honored to have been here tonight to share this moment with the inductees. I wish I could do a better job of explaining our situation. Wrestling will die unless we are able to influence the college coaches to tweak the rules so that it helps our freestyle effort. High school rules they're helping our wrestling. The reason Yakutia, Russia is so strong is because of their development program. Their rules, you can't put your hands on the mat, you lose. You can't put your knees on the mat, you lose. You can't get pushed out of the circle 3 times, you lose. It's real simple. But it goes all the way back to Genghis Khan. It goes all the way back to China. We want those people to come here. They want to come here, and once they get here, we're going to share the knowledge that's made Yakutia wrestlers. I think they have 6 Olympic champions, 7 world champions, and the community is less than 5,000 people. Might be some selective breeding going on around here, but they have a program that can help wrestling grow, and this is what we need to save wrestling in the Olympics. We need diversity. We need the women. We need the handicapped. We need our college guys to wrestle freestyle in high school. If we did that, we would dominate the world. There's no doubt in my mind, if we change our rules, our high school rules just a little bit, we will dominate the world. I've said enough. Russ has got to poke out. Thank you for coming, honorees. Congratulations. I've got a 12.5-hour drive that I'm going to be making with a mad American bulldog and an angry wife.
I got your notes, so Bobby, you want these back? It's a good thing, Bobby. I got 8 grandchildren under 7. Now I know what they can do. 5 boys and 3 girls. We got it all figured out. Before we start with, I wanted to introduce the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Board of Directors for the state of Ohio. They can all stand, wave their hand. Ray Anthony. Joe Greenlee. Steve Kish. Gordy Longshaw. And Robin Rayfield. Now last year, Nick Carr didn't show up on time, so I had to do the invocation, and he came up and did a much better invocation. But today I was told that I was going to be doing the invocation, and I've been getting better at it now since I got my grandkids. Every time we have Thanksgiving and Christmas, I do it, but I got kind of shortchanged that my grandchildren like to now get into it. And my 5-year-old grandchild, at the last time we had a family prayer, said, "Dear God, I know you like me best." And somewhere I thought maybe I made a mistake in what a prayer ought to be all about. But I let it go for now. So if we can all bow our heads, I'll give a very short invocation. Lord, help us to be morally and ethically and spiritually sound. Help us to respect and treat others in a positive and productive way. Make us understand the needs of others and be willing to share much of what you have given us to make them better, as the men today here who are being recognized. Share this food. We thank you for your bountiful gifts. Amen. The staff will come and grab your table. Well, actually, you from your table. Take you out. And just remain seated until someone shows up. I assume that's happening. Since I was about 14 years old, I guess I started relatively old. I had an opportunity, based on Bobby Douglas's comments, and I guess our concern for the longevity of the sport of wrestling. I had an opportunity in the spring of 2001, 2002, I can't remember exactly what year it was. Marquette University said goodbye to wrestling after 50 years of having the sport. I had been an integral part of their fundraising for a number of years. I donated my time as a master of ceremony, brought up different stuff to be sold and bid and gone out. So when they said goodbye to wrestling, they called me up and asked me if I would give the keynote speech. They wanted me to lambaste the gender equity people and set everybody straight, let them know what was happening and why their beloved sport was being impacted by losing so many sports and colleges across the country. I had tried to figure out how I was going to give a speech. Everything I put together was so negative it drove me crazy. I'm the day before and I cannot figure out how am I going to have a positive speech in front of these people on such a negative subject. But I was with a friend who was an equine vet, and he says, "Well, what do you want to say, Russ?" So in about 20 minutes, put together this talk. They were expecting me to speak for a long time, but I did not. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. From the ancient walls of Samaria, from hieroglyphics written on the tombs of Egyptian kings, we know that wrestling is a sport of the ages. It touches the lives of all who participate in it, and many times even those who just observe it. Who can forget the emotional victory of Jeff Blatnick over cancer before his gold medal win in Los Angeles in 1984, or the heart-rending upset victory of Rulon Gardner over previously undefeated wrestling icon Alexander Perella in Australia at the 2000 Olympics. You can see the impact of the sport in the eyes of even its youngest combatants. Perhaps in apprehension of that very first one-on-one, or that glorious twinkling elation that comes from the first victory over the vanquished foe. And for those who stay the course for a career, their eyes reflect the passion that penetrates deep into their very soul. A look that impacts for a lifetime, and yes, a look that makes them what they are. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. Weep for those who will never experience me. Weep for those who will never feel the exhausting pain of my training. Weep for those who will never sense the bond of camaraderie that once established will never wane or die. Weep for those who will never comprehend the demands of my discipline. And most of all, weep for those poor souls who will never miss me because they never knew me. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. I have been experienced in virtually every culture and civilization known to mankind. I have been contested in over 150 documented forms in written history. There is no nation on this planet that throughout all time has not experienced me. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. Look at those seated around you and think of the qualities that make them what they are. Accountability, responsibility, persistence, fortitude, strength, compassion, work ethic, ingenuity, determination, integrity, honesty, focus, diligence, and resolve. Wrestling is not the only place they could acquire these, but by God, they all reside here. And if you live with me long enough, these will become you. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. No political agenda or political interpretation can ever destroy me. My merit and my worth is no threat to any cause, but rather through my values, I am a model for others. I am wrestling, do not weep for me. Celebrate what I am, celebrate what I have been, celebrate what I represent, and celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I will survive this test as I have survived others. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. Time is on my side. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not weep for me. Now, there's never a time in my life that the emotion poured out of me when I gave that speech that night, because I mean it. If wrestling has been a part of your life, there's very little in the world that can ever match it. I think our history is guaranteed. Tonight, we are going to celebrate a number of lives of people who have dedicated their life to the cause that we call wrestling. Terry McCann was my wrestling coach after college. I didn't know a lick about international wrestling. He was an Olympic champion. I went to his club. Terry was a professional speaker and CEO of a large company. He was one of the greatest speakers I ever listened to. He would say things all the time, and this is the one that impacts on me right now. He says, you think it's tough to be motivated and inspired every day to train hard. Try to be the guy who has to inspire everybody every day. That's tough. And when you think about it, it's true. How do you be inspirational every day with all the lives that you have in your hands? The people we're going to talk about tonight found a way to get that done. Our first presentation is for an outstanding American from Ohio. As a wrestler at Cleveland State University, Jon Dobre wrestled to an undefeated record of 10-0, which included 5 pins. After college, he went on to a career with the Borough of Prisons. In 1980, Dobre designed and implemented the oversight regulations for the first Cuban detention center at the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia, which then became the prototype for all future borough facilities. Dobre also served as a correctional specialist at the Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. There he provided guidance to new recruits in handling firearms, self-defense, and evasive driving. Dobre continued his career as a warden of the federal prison in Beaumont, Texas, and was named 1992 Associate Warden of the Year in the Bureau's Western region. It is my pleasure to recognize on behalf of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Jon Dobre, as the Outstanding American from Ohio.
Thank you, Russ, for that introduction. Thank you, members of the Hall of Fame Committee, for this prestigious and humbling recognition. During my 40 years of prison service, many of the lessons learned back in that weight room or that mat room, especially with my teammates Chuck Berger, Carl Thompson, Dennis Thompson, served me well during difficult, challenging circumstances in the prisons. However, the most unique circumstance recently befell me when I was in Kabul, Afghanistan, touring a maximum security prison there. The warden took me to their inmate activities area. They were actually wrestling. When I told the warden I knew wrestling, he invited me to participate. I'll guarantee you that will never happen. Over the next 30 minutes, I walked through various techniques with the prisoners, much to their delight and that of the staff. And in this case, wrestling served to bring about a professional distance between the keeper and the kept, and also the cultural difference between Muslim and Christian. Wrestling was very important at that time and certainly served me well in my professional career. Socially, for the past 25 years, I have engaged in youth coaching. And in each of those instances, I emulated the lessons learned from my wonderful coaches at East Lake North, John Matteucci, and certainly Cleveland State's Dick Bonacci. Both of these, consummate gentlemen and the epitome of what integrity and character is about. My finest moment in coaching came about in Southern California when a young Hispanic male at the end of the season gave me an envelope. Within that envelope was a Father's Day card, to which his mother responded that he had never known his biological father, and that I'd become the first positive male role model to this young man. I was truly, emotionally, lump in the throat moment, and wrestling had brought that about for me. So I sincerely appreciated that. And in closing, I sincerely appreciate all of you here tonight, the support of the other inductees, the Hall of Fame, and also I wish for you, each and every one of you, a last-minute takedown that includes joy, prosperity, and health. God bless.
Before we get fully underway, I would like to just ask that all of the honorees today remain to the end. We're going to give you a jacket. We'd like to have a picture taken with all of you together at the very end. After earning a Purple Heart as a corporal in the United States Army, Bill Barger returned home to Ohio and began his coaching career. Barger coached at Walsh Jesuit High School from 1976 to 2011. During his tenure, the team won 8 state championships, 1991, 1993, 1997 through 1997, 1999, and 2000. He coached 41 individual state champions and had 145 wrestlers qualify for the state tournament. 7 of the student athletes coached by Barger went on to earn All-American status in college, 3 of whom became NC2A champions. Marcus Malika at Arizona State, Joe Heskett at Iowa State, and Mike Pasillo at Ohio State. He was also named National Coach of the Year by Amateur Wrestling News Magazine and NWCA High School Coach of the Year in 2003. However, Barger was much more than a successful coach. He started the North Akron Wrestling Club where he coached youth wrestling. There he touched thousands of lives and taught timeless life lessons through the great sport of wrestling. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Bill Barger is presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
this is an illusion. I don't know. But I would like to congratulate all the other inductees. And really, I've had some personal relationships with them, a lot of them. But I would like to point out one, which was Howard Ferguson. And, I came right after him, and I was wrestling with him too for a couple of years at the beginning. And he was really, that's what I was chasing. Him and where I was at. And he was just like, come on. He gave me his books. He read there every year. He showed me stuff. And we were always invited for anything. And some people have a misconception of Howard because he gave a lot more than he ever took. And he was just a great man. And I want to talk about that because he's not here and he should have been here before. But that's here and there. But I was proud to know him. Greg's a great guy. TD, me and you had a lot of matches too. Me and Greg had a lot of matches. And I couldn't be spending anymore than I do now because, I got to see him in the classroom. I'd go down there, bring my kids from Walsh there when I was in the last 13 years. I substitute and did social action and stuff with Walsh. And I'd always come up to his classroom if I'd been in school or something like that. And TD, he had great stuff. I want to thank Vince DeSabato, who was instrumental for me to get in here today. And my family, my wife Sandy, my daughters are here, Heather, and my coaches. My coaches are here, a lot of them. And I couldn't have made it without those guys. And, Jeff Black and Fred Doherty, Dan Hansen. And I got a new coach coming in, Adam Campolo, and he's going to do a good job with the Walsh. You guys can watch. Thank the fans. The North Akron Wrestling, when we started, it wasn't just me, it was me and a lot of people. And it just happened. This was nothing that was premeditated or anything that it just happened. When I was in Vietnam, I was 19 years old, and I'm out in the jungle, in the 101st Airborne, fighting. I lived in the woods, 90-day mission, and that was it. And I was a young guy, and I was just trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to be doing. But it wasn't very fun where I was at. We lived in the bush, and that was our job. Search and destroy. So I wasn't too bad at it, but I wanted to get the hell out of there. But I made a promise to Christ, is if I live through this war, I will dedicate myself to something. And I can tell you, I wasn't a great wrestler. I went to the States my senior year, but I didn't start till I was 10th grade. But I didn't know that's what it would be, but I knew that he kept on knocking on my door, wondering what I'm going to do. And I started coaching in my high school, and it just blossomed from there to, we came in second in the state in '73, back in Garfield. We had 2 firsts and a 5th. And I coached them from 9th to 10th and 11th grade. And then the senior year, they got a new coach who didn't know how to wrestle. And I was a hippie, and that didn't help. But, so he took over, and then he gets to the districts, and he comes up to me in the stands and said, "Will you coach these guys?" So Daryl Lash and Shelton Lee, and they were these 2 kids. I called them Deacon and Plain Dealer and told them they were going to win the state, and he didn't believe me. They didn't believe me. But Garfield came second in the state. Those were my first two state champions. And one of them went to the neighborhood county. I've never seen him, but I knew then, and I was a drill instructor when I came back to Vietnam. I knew that I could, and that helped a lot for mentally decide what things I want. But really, I'm where I'm at because of all the coaches in North Akron, and I'm still there. That's what I'm doing, and that's the way I'm going to end it. You know, as far as I'm a grade school coach, and I'm very happy, and I've been trying to get out of this head coaching job for 7 years. And Adam, don't ever tell me you're going to D1 college. I will run you down.
Stamatis Bulgaris started his wrestling career at Fairmount High School. While there, he was voted captain of the team and voted most valuable wrestler during his senior year. After earning his engineering degree from the University of Dayton in 1969, Bulgaris started a wrestling program at the University of Dayton and coached there for 6 years. Stamatis left Dayton to start the wrestling program at Wright State. He remained the coach for 13 seasons and developed the program into an NCAA Division II national power. Coach Bulgaris produced 10 All-Americans at Wright State. He has since coached at Beaver Creek High School as the head coach from 1987 to 1991, and assistant coach from 1992 to 2008. Besides coaching, Bulgaris has been a wrestling official for 50 years and officiated 23 Ohio High School state championships. He was the Ohio High School rules interpreter for 10 years and has conducted rules clinics across the country. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Stamatis Bulgaris has presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
All I can say is, wow. You know, I looked at that list and of all the accomplishments, all these great things, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? Then I saw Wojo walk in, and I thought, oh, okay. They needed 2 bald guys. It's been a great ride, I tell you. I had everybody who's been nominated can tell you that you can't plan this. You just go around doing something you have a passion for, trying to help kids along, whether it be trying to give them a fair shake as an official or encourage them as a coach, and you just do it for the love of the sport, and these things just kind of happen. I couldn't give you a plan of how to get there. It's just been a great ride. My awards that I've received aren't nearly as important as the individuals that have come through the program. My athletes, one time at the state tournament, I counted 11 former wrestlers that were either coaching or officiating at the state tournament. I was very proud of those guys. Guys like Gary Wise, Mark Earhart, Jack Beard, those are my living trophies. It's been a great ride. I think every coach that had the opportunity to coach his sons, we spent a lot of great times together. What dad gets to spend every weekend in the winter with his kids. Of course, practices weren't always fun, and we tried not to take it home. I didn't talk to them about wrestling at home unless they asked me a question. It's time to be a dad and time to be a coach. But it was a great time. I want to thank all my friends, my neighbors, former wrestlers, my family for being here tonight. I wish my mom and dad and brother-in-law could ever see this. I lost 2 good friends this year. and Sandy Gajo and Kurt Rockwell, former officials. I wish they could have been here to see this. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to my wife for putting up with me. And I'm semi-retired. I think I'll officiate a few more years, and I think I made my mind up we should be on the mat. I still feel good about it. I try to please happy people most of the time. I think as Rose Interpreter, Vince and I made some great strides in trying to uniform officiating across the state. I got tired here, Northeast calls this, Southeast calls this, Southwest calls that, Central calls this. And we talked about it, and I think we made great strides in those 10 years trying to make the calls different. I remember there was a time when we go out and wrestle out of state, it was almost impossible to get a correct interpretation of the call. Every state had their own way of playing things. But I think we've gotten a lot better as a nation, and I think the kids are a lot better for it. Thank you again for everybody supporting me. It's been a great ride, it's been a great life. I wouldn't change for a minute. I tell officials sometimes when the coach gets upset with them, it's not because they're upset with you, it's because they're working with these kids and you don't know their personal lives, what these kids go through. Sometimes a win would just change their outlook on life and change their attitude towards people. And the coach wants you to win, and it doesn't come. And when they lose a close match, it's not you that they're upset with. They were just pulling for that kid a little bit more, trying to make them a better person. It's not the wins and losses for us as coaches. It's the development of the kids and see this. So they see their way through life. And once in a while, you'll get that phone call, you'll get that memo saying, "Thanks, coach." That makes it all worthwhile. Thank you so much.
To that story, someone was said, "Ref, that was a great call." And the response was nothing until I made it. Tony Campolo is being recognized for his lifetime service to wrestling, thanks to his time as one of the state's most experienced officials. During his 41 years as an official, Campolo has worked 33 state tournaments. He is a member of the Ohio Wrestling Officials Hall of Fame and was an NC2A official from 1973 to 1995 and was the National Federation OHSAA Wrestling Official of the Year in 2012. Campolo was a 4-time letter winner in wrestling at Muscatine College. While there, he was a 2-time place winner in the Ohio Athletic Conference. He also coached the Grove Madison wrestling team from 1973 to 1977. Outside of wrestling, Campolo was a professor of economics and finance at Columbus State. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Tony Campolo is presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Exactly. DJ's back there giving me a little star. This is such a humbling experience, especially when you're going in with such unbelievably legendary other inductees. Not just this year, every year we've done this. And the guys have just been so amazing. Be part of it. These guys have a better than a prior. You know, I really, on top of this, they said you're in the Hall of Fame. I'm thinking, well, it's all about you. What you know about my story. But most of you guys, there are so many stories which are not probably PG. But I really just kind of fell into wrestling. I was a football and baseball player and just ended up wrestling was something to do between the two sports, you know. And a couple things happened which made me commit to the coach, who was a wrestling coach, and I fell in love with the sport and just became a wrestler, you know. And a lot of you guys know that I probably pretty quick to call someone. And that might have come from a match that really changed my life. I wrestled a kid named Porter Coughlin. I haven't seen him since that day. I never will again. But I lost, on a referee's decision because somebody thought that he was more aggressive than me. And when that happened, it changed my life. Not just for the sport of wrestling, but it changed my academic life. After I graduated, it changed my business life, it changed the way I approach teaching. It changed my life. That if you're going to make it in school, you got to be in control. You got to look in the mirror and find out that you're the person that has to do it. It isn't somebody else. And that's what wrestling did for me. As I thought about what I was going to talk about, I thought, this is an unbelievable honor. I've had others. I'm blessed. My life is blessed. Blessed with great parents. A brother died a couple months ago. My life wasn't that tough. But the reality is, while this is a tremendous honor, the honor really came in bits and pieces over the last 40 years when a coach would pick up the phone and give me a call and say, "Well, you look forward to my match." I don't care what it took. The guy called me, I took the match, The honor really came not from just that phone call, but every time I got to raise a kid's hand. Because every time I raised that hand, it was a state championship for some parent or some grandparent or the kid himself. I really worked my ass off to be in position for you guys, for the coaches, for the wrestlers. My whole goal was that nobody would get hurt and everybody would be treated fairly, I mean, the real honor of this thing comes from the friendships that I've developed over those years. Just amazing friendships, well beyond wrestling. So I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. It's just unbelievable for me to sit here thinking I'm giving an award for something that gave me so much. Not only gave me so much, it gave my daughter so much in terms of her attitude, the way she approaches life, and the job she's doing for the community. I mean, I have so many people that I don't even know where to begin. But I do thank the committee for recognizing me, thank Andy for nominating me. Thank every one of you for being my greatest and best friends. Thanks.
It was special for me too because I think you're the only official I never had an argument with.
You guys are questioning my judgment for so long. Finally, it's time for your question.
Howard Ferguson, the successful businessman, became the head coach of what was considered an average program, but quickly changed that perception. In his 15 seasons as the head coach of the team, he won 14 consecutive sectional tournaments, 13 district tournaments, 11 Class 3A State of Ohio championships, and 7 national high school championships. Ferguson's teams won 10 consecutive state titles from 1978 to 1987. He also started a tournament called the Quad of Champions, which was hosted by St. Edward and was against 3 other nationally ranked programs each season. Ferguson, affectionately known as Ferg by his wrestlers, was known as a taskmaster and ran a highly disciplined program. Ferguson died of a heart attack in 1989, but left the program in great shape for Greg Urbas, who has continued the school's winning way. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Howard Ferguson is presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Accepting the award is his daughter, Jackie Ferguson. Never been.
This isn't going to go that well because these are 3 days old and I don't even know what you're doing. And Jerry Tracy, who drove me here, told me I had to speak today, so this is what my this is in the back of his car. But first of all, I want to thank Jerry and Coach Matteucci for letting me back in the car doing Dad's board. And I also want to really congratulate all the other inductees. You guys are freaking amazing. You know, I'm 48 years old, and I don't remember not being impressed. And when I look around the room and I see all these nasty ears, it just it just feels like oh man, you know. It's awesome. Just a couple things I wanted to say about that is you all know, or you read about it. He was an amazing coach. He just was. He was a way more amazing father. Coaching took a second place to how cool he was as a coach, as a father, but he was an incredibly generous guy. Our house was open 24 hours, 7 days a week, to any high school and college athlete. And literally maybe even 4 months ago, I was told by somebody that, oh yeah, you know, I was a baseball player for St. Joe's. My dad died when I was a sophomore, and you know, I never met your dad, but one of his wrestlers came to the house and said, you know, your tuition's paid for. And I'm 28, I still do those stories, and that's freaking cool. It's just, it's cool. And you also, as good as a coach he was so funny, and he was so very, he was so cocky. His background was in real estate, and he'd tell stories like, you know, yeah, it's like a Howie Trump. And I'd be like, you mean Donald Trump? Wait, what's his name? Like, Donald. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, Donald Trump. But he had this amazing charisma. And the biggest and best thing I can remember about that is when he died without. He died without 2 seconds of notice. Just a couple years older than I am now. When we were talking about him at the funeral, we had one of his assistant coaches, Brian Miller, talking about what he loved best about Dad. And he said, you know, was it the football games? Was it the wrestling matches? Was it the Browns games? And he stopped and he said, no. He said, you know what? I figured what I loved best about Dad was me. He said, I loved me best when I was with Dad. And that just knocked the cover off the ball. He was that guy. You just felt better about yourself when you hung out with him. And I can't, all these years after we lost him, I can't believe I get to have one of these days again. And thanks to all you guys. Just awesome.
So far, she's been the best looking to stand next to me. I think she's probably won the award.
The bar was low. I'm a girl.
I know about girls. I had 3 girls, 3 daughters and 500 sons. I know about them. In 1948, John Matteucci became the first 3-time Ohio State wrestling champion during his high school career at Cleveland West High School. He also placed second in the Junior Nationals in 1948. From there, he went on to wrestle at Ohio State University and graduated in 1955. Matteucci introduced wrestling to Willoughby East Lakes School District and became East Lake North High School's first wrestling coach in 1958. He remained in that post until 1990. During his 33 seasons, his team went 262, 148, and 5. He coached 31 individual state place winners and 6 individual state champions, as well as 1 team state championship in 1975. He was elected to the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame in 1978. Matteucci passed away in 2001, but his teaching on the mat and in the classroom live on through the young lives he touched during his time at East Lake North. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Jon Matteucci is presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Accepting for Jon is his brother, Vince.
You probably all saw my big time. I always said, what the hell you have a big time? Cancel learning. Actually, honey, it's a salute to you, man. 15 years ago. I lost a son-in-law not too long ago. He was a big man. In fact, he worked at St. Ed's and Campolo. And he's up there now. He'd be so proud to be looking down and saying, that's my Uncle John and my best friend, Greg Urbas. He'd be real proud. I got to tell you how John started me off. Growing up in a little Italian neighborhood, everybody knew everybody. The 40s and 50s, it was great. Tough, like it was great. My brother John came home one night, and I was sitting there with some bruises on my face. And he said, what happened? I said, I got to fight one of the guys. He said, did you win? I didn't answer. He made a fist. He said, did he hit you like this? Made another fist. He said, he hit you like that? And he hit me. I didn't answer him still. But he did say to me, never, ever lose a fight. Never. Well, I went on, and he taught me how to wrestle, but he taught me the hard way. He may hurt. And he said, you don't want to hurt guys like that, the referee will get you. And Tony probably would have penalized me for stalling. And by the way, I always have an answer for Tony. When I came along, and when Tony came along, everybody would say to me, you're a Rosenturk, can't you do something about Campolo? He's always penalizing guys for stalling. I said, you call stalling when you recognize it. I can't help it, he recognizes it before anybody. John took the job after college, graduated. He took the job at East Lake North. And I heard about it. And I said, John, what are you going to do with practice? He said, I got to practice next week. I said, you want me to come? He said, no, not necessarily. I said, no, I want to come. I was afraid he'd beat the shit out of the kid. When I heard practice going on, I jumped in my car and ran over there. He was so gentle. Gentle with the wrestlers. I said to him after, I said, John, how come you didn't treat me like that? Teach me to wrestle like that. He said, different strokes for different folks. So I said, thank you, I got the strokes. I'd like to introduce John's children. Kimmy, you stand up. John. They all turned out to be great kids and a great life. They're the best parents that I have ever been around. Vince is a single parent, and he does a great job. God bless you, Vince. John, same. I'm very proud of my nieces and nephews. Joe Campolo, one of John's assistant coaches and dear friends. Joe, where are you? Thank you. Joe coached with John for 40 years. In the 40 years, he said he never coached in any other sport but any other coach who was good or as nice to the kids as John was. He said John wasn't liked by the kids. He was loved by the kids. I mean, that made me very proud. Joe, am I correct? Thank you. My brother had a couple of sayings. Well, you know, different strokes, that was one. I'm so organized that you don't have everything here. John had 6 state champs. John Price was his first. Roger Anderson is second. Carl Thompson, Pete Ikovic, Rick Carl, Mickey McDonald. They're all here. Who's here today? East Lake North in those days was a powerhouse. They started to compete with Maple Heights, they won state championships, and then won team championship. My brother had another saying: when you lose, say nothing. When you win, say even less. I can't say anything more about John than you guys already know. But to me, he was a teacher, a friend, and I love him. Thank you.
I've never talked to professional football and basketball players in America today. Thomas Talbott has led 9 different wrestling squads to success. Talbott ranks 17th all-time in Ohio high school athletic history with 285 coaching wins in his 4-decade stint at the schools as the school's head wrestling coach. TD coached at Dayton Belmont, Thurin, Oregon Cardinal Strict, and Uniontown Lake High Schools, where together his teams won 16 league, 16 sectional, and 9 district championships, and finished in the top 4 of the state on 9 separate occasions, with runner-up finishes at both Huron and Cardinal Strict. TD was the president of the Ohio High School Wrestling Coaches Association from 1969 to 1971, and was state coach of the year in 71 when he coached the U.S. Junior World Team at the European Games. He was instrumental in starting the Ohio High School Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame and in bringing school wrestling camps and clinics to the state of Ohio. Talbott retired from Ohio coaching in 1996. Evidencing his lifetime of service to the sport, Talbott has been inducted into the Ohio High School Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame, as well as the Stivers, Huron, Cardinal Strict, Uniontown Lake, Stark County, Greater Miami Valley, and Greater Toledo Halls of Fame. Following retirement, Talbott relocated to the state of Florida, where he assisted the Springstead High School and then started a new program at the Villages High School. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Thomas Talbott has presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Russ. We're glad. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Ohio chapter for this honor, and I really am humbled here tonight. There's a few others, please. I'll tell you what, that's really a big time. I'd like to share that with the athletes and the coaches that made it possible, as well as the family and the friends. I really appreciate it. I'd like to salute the first two classes because they were strong and they were good people, great people. And this one is really something else. I was going to say they're outstanding. Sometimes it's outstanding in the hall. As a student, they throw me out in the hall and say, hey, you're outstanding, all right, you're standing in the hall. I want to tell some stories of these people, but time won't let that happen. But here's one, the great Urbas, that I wanted to mention. I saw him here today, but I came up 3 years ago from Florida, the Sunshine State, and so when I walked in the warm-up room, there's a lot of feeling and empathy in that war room if you've ever been in it. Who's ever been in that warm-up room at the state championships? Raise your hand. They'll tell you what that means. It's just really, really something. Attention has to give. Well, Greg Urbas came up to me and he said, Coach Talbott, I want to thank you for what you've done for Ohio wrestling. And it really got to me because I appreciate it a lot. That thought in mind, there are many people out in this room that have done an awful lot for Ohio wrestling. And I'm appreciative of these people in this room. And then this group of men that I had here today is something else. And I think we're making Ohio one of the best in the country, if not the best wrestling high school state in the country. Let's hear it. One clap. Ready? That's a TV tradition, by the way. Tell you what it does. It saves a lot of time, and it's real simple. You need to surround. I think Woody Hayes had this in his book, Win with People. How many remember that book? There's a lot of football men here, but it is a great book. But I tell you what, I didn't read it. By then, when I showed up at Ohio State, I hadn't met Woody Hayes yet. But I did meet some people. And again, surround yourself with good people is the name of success, I believe. So I meet two people. I say to them, what's your, I put my bag down. I mean, the first minute on campus, I see two people. I said, what's your name? He says, my name is Bill Soder. I said, what are you going to do? I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to make a lot. I'll make millions. And he did. I see another man. I say, what's your name? I said, my name is Curtis. I'm going to be a doctor. I want to help people. And he did. They asked me, TD, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. They counseled me, they encouraged me, and asked me a couple years later, TD, what are you going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. And they said, well, you know, you're good with kids. We think education and coaching is for you. And that's what I decided to do, and that's what I did. The rest is history. But the rest is not history on, the rest is history for Manuel Zagurnis also. And here, he's here today with his family. But he's the man that encouraged me all the way through. He was the dean of the medical school at Ohio State, 30 years. He was the vice president of Ohio State University during that time. There's a building down here on campus called the Zagurnis Medical Building, and he's here today with his family. And Charlie's with him. Charlie is an oral surgeon, and he has 5 sons that are doctors, and the list goes on. But I tell you what, they're great people, and their family and their wives. Let's have a hand with all, and all the Zagurnises, please stand. To the athletes that I was fortunate to have, that made this happen. We are so appreciative of the chance we had, the opportunity to place a mark, 80 mark. A lot of times they call it the tape down. I go on that name sometimes too. Know that you had a little time to work with these young people and to make them a little bit what they are today. What a profession! Man, was a and there are a lot of coaches understanding what I'm saying right now. No, the paycheck in there, but I tell you what, there's a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion that comes from the job of coaching wrestling. Coaching kids, being with them, making them better people. And our people today are doing a heck of a job. So to the people, to the coaches here today, and our people, we want to thank you. And God bless you, and you've done a great job. Keep it going with your family. And I know when things get tough in life, you learn it from wrestling. Let's hear it for all those athletes we had. A little better. To the coaches, the list of all. So I don't want to do that, but I do want to pick out a few here on. We have your kids here, your own kids. Tony Monaco was a football coach, and he helped me wrestling for 5 years, and I appreciate that. Get to Cardinal Stritch. Tom Greer was a football coach, and he helped me wrestling. I think that's a secret. Helped me wrestling quite a bit. In fact, I'm going over a little bit later to late. But also at Cardinal Stritch, Jim and Joe Bergman were outstanding. They were really, really outstanding. They helped me great. Coach Mike Manley was at Uniontown Lake, and I'd like to say his name because he's there today. He's doing a heck of a job. He's still there. So those coaches, they're running this race. Let's hear for all those coaches who put up the takedown and TD tough. Let's hear those coaches. Now the Lake community. I mentioned Tom Greer. We brought him over there from wherever before and started coaching at Lake. And he looks at the football. We decided maybe we needed a little better football stadium. Maybe we need a little better wrestling room. And sure enough, here's what happens. I mentioned that to a couple people. And sure enough, lo and behold, at Uniontown Lake, they built a heck of a stadium, but they had to raise some money, and they raised $1 million. And the two people here today for that, the committee people, my committee men right here, Bob Whitmer's right over there, and the main honcho that really was he's a lawyer. He put this little personal trainer book, buy a book, me one book, personal trainer, and he was the lawyer. He made it happen. Would they stand, please? Dave Herbert. He was the honcho. Wouldn't have happened without Dave Herbert. My family. They're going to stand. Come on. Talbott, Casey, Katie, Marty Wagner, Talbott, Rich Talbott back here. All right, Nelson Denmas. Raise your hand, Nelson. All right. Come on, Nelson. All right. Raise that right hand, Nelson. All right, all right. To the Wagners, Bill, Kyle, Andy, Anna, and more Talbots. I got Kelsey. We got a Z-Bowl here. We got a Z-Bowl, and we got Kyle, and we also have Andy and Harley and Truman, and that's our family. Did I miss anybody? Let's hear it. And Gail Talbot. Oh, she's gonna get me. Thanks for the memories.
Need some help.
You gotta love the enthusiasm. Greg Urbas became the wrestling coach at Cleveland St. Edward High School in 1989, taking the reins of Howard Ferguson's successful program. Urbas is known for his disciplined style derived from a stint in the United States Marine Corps from 1973 to 19.
Prepared for this speech, mile marker 123 to 127. A lot of times I don't look at the notes anyway. I went to St. Joe High School. Was taught by coached by Jon Story and Coach Dobre-Outstanding. And the last year forward in wrestling, too damn tough. I talked to coach wrestling now, but it was too darn tough. It was unbelievable. I was never so exhausted in my life. And I've been on forced marches in the Marines. It's tougher than that. Jesus Christ. It's tough. So anyway, I played ball for 9 years. Wasn't very good, but I played ball for 9 years. Wrestling is tough. After the Marines, I taught at South Hills Catholic in Pittsburgh for 1 year. And I wanted to coach football. And I his first year math teacher. And they said, no, just get your feet wet because you've been out of circulation for a while. And why don't you coach wrestling? I said, well, I was lousy. They said, so what? Just go see so-and-so, the coach. So I go and see so-and-so, the coach. He says, so what? I'll teach you. He was a rough guy. He was a tough guy. He was a great guy. So he gave me the rest, and I learned some of that stuff, and we had a very small program. It wasn't very good. And some kid on the team said, let's go to this match, this pretty big match on the street. It was Connerville versus Mount Lebanon. Those of you from Western Pennsylvania area, you know about that stuff. It was crazy. It was nuts. I said, oh my. I happened to witness Coach Hellickson give a clinic back then. It was 1977. Probably December, maybe it's probably it's probably March. Dapper Dan Classic clinic. Coach Hellickson was the first coach I've seen give a clinic, and he was amazing. Going, oh my God, that big man, look how he can move. He was amazing. This country. They had a coach's clinic there, and just and I thank him for that unbelievable clinic he gave back then. And it was Gus D'Agostino that head coach there. Again, same minutes after that, got a job back in Cleveland, and first thing I got hired as a math teacher, and I get a phone call from Coach Ferg, who's the athletic director. He says, hey, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. He's just all jacked up like his daughter. He says, you want to coach football? I said, yeah. Good. He said, you want to coach wrestling? I said, that's terrible. He says, so am I. We'll learn together. Don't worry about it. So that's how it happened. And then I coached with him for 11 years, and I was lucky enough to be with unbelievable coaches over there. They taught us a lot, and one of the big tricks of the trade, Ferg always surrounded himself with fantastic coaches, and that's what we've tried to do since he's passed. But the big thing was, one of the big things was he would have summer clinics. He'd have a summer clinic. We'd get the top fellows from the NCAA, either wrestlers or coaches, come and give a clinic. And we were there. We were learning as the kids were learning. That's how he kept up to date all the time. All the time. We always wanted to learn. What makes us? What makes it work? What makes it work on a big time level? Currently, he was huge with that. He was a blast to work with. I don't know if Jackie doesn't know this, but after he had a heart surgery, he came in and he was gone for about a month out of the room, and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same at all. When he came in the room, it was unannounced. I don't know if you know that. Unannounced, he came in the room from his heart surgery, and the place just exploded. It's pretty cool. It's really, really cool. And it was like 1,000. He was a big time businessman, but it was like 1,000 pounds off his back every time he came into the room. He just loved being in the room. He just loved motivating kids. And a couple phrases that he taught, he always spoke about. He said, use the sport, don't let the sport use you. Use the sport, don't let the sport use you. This will open doors to colleges for the kids. I mean, we've got a roster of kids that have been at Cornell and University of Pennsylvania. We've got a guy that wrestled at Harvard. We've got a guy, 3 of them that wrestled at Brown, and 3 wrestled at Columbia. Holy cow. We got one at Johns Hopkins. It's just amazing. And then I'll never forget him saying it. Use the sport, don't let the sport use you. And he also said, never give up on a kid. Remember that, Gary? Coach Soresi, coach is saying that's helped Coach Ferg get it going there. Never give up on a kid. So a kid can be a goof as a 9th grader, 10th grader. Halfway through a match, they'll all done. Halfway through a match, we had to straighten the kid up. He actually had, her dad coached a kid named Bill Elton, became a state champ. All of a sudden, in the middle of the state finals match, he's trying to change his technique, trying to change his shot. He wanted to work on it. He's getting his butt kicked. Bird lost him. Bird, what are you doing, Alvin? What are you doing? I see him working on this. He had a great single leg. He wasn't using a single leg. Smacked him on the side over the head. Knocked him right again. They kept in this. What is he, down by about 8 points or something like that? He came back, taking the kid down and single, bam, 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 points are flying. Whoa, just look at some kids sometimes, so that's a lot of fun. Who knows what's going on between those guys. Anyway, I want to thank a couple people for showing up. My brother and my sister-in-law, Jim came from Cape Cod. And Russ Wolf, we've been together, I don't know, what, 15, 18 years, something like that. And for the last, I don't know, 15, 18 years, we've been hosting the Fargo tournament at Fargo camp at for Ohio, before the kids go on for a junior and cadet freestyle Greco-Roman camp. And if it wasn't for the Wolf family, we wouldn't be able to host it. This is something, but our parents housed 90 wrestlers this summer. Housed 90 wrestlers, and that's got to chop the fee for the cadet junior national camp way down. At a college campus, there's probably be a heck of a lot more, but 90 of our parents stepped up to house these kids. They don't have these kids. They're letting these kids in their home for 5 days, 6 days. They don't have a clue who they are. And they come back and they have some great stories that they just love doing it for the community. It's the sport. It's the sport. I want to thank the Matteucci family and Agazzino family for being there. My boy Charlie, wave your hand there. We've been together quite a few years, and his dad, Joe Agazzino, unpaid. Well, he paid. He paid. He gave, 15, 18, 20 years of his time to St. Ward High School in wrestling, donating his time every day, 5 days, 6 days a week, just to help our program run real smooth. And some people know that my office is pretty much a mess, and it's pretty funny. If anybody ever saw a Sentinel woman, what's that guy's name? Al Pacino. Take a flamethrower to this place. What he said, Joe was great at that. He used to fire me up all the time. Yell at me all the time. It was fun. It was a blast. Coach Jay and his family, we've been together, 23 years? Who's counting? 23 years? It's pretty amazing. Mrs. Shane, just anything we ask of her for the program. And Mark is back in St. Ed's now. So we've got a heck of a crew of coaches that have helped us, and we're so thankful for it. But there's something pretty neat. I coach football also, and I've been in that school up north. And in their locker room, it's got a big, huge chain where it says, the team, the team, the team. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Football coach. Nobody knows. It means the team's the most important thing. Michigan, football. The team's the most important thing. Well, at St. Ed's, we don't say the team. We talk about the room. And it's a very rough room. And just want to throw this out to you. It took a football coach to get us off the snide, I guess you call it. He said, you've got to celebrate the sport. Coach Douglas was talking about celebrating the sport. We just had a month ago, 420, Coach Jay? 420 people come to a huge celebration of wrestling for St. Ward High School wrestling for 55 years of wrestling. 420 people showed up. It was unbelievable, the stories. One of the major things about this thing was there wasn't any pats on the back for being an All-American or national champ or state champ or this many time placement. The guys just wanted to talk about their experiences in the room. Whether a guy wrestled a half a year, 1 year, whether he wrestled all through high school, whether he was a placer, state champ, or whether he was NCAA. We've had 57 All-Americans from St. Ward High School. It's pretty awesome. We've had 3 guys become NCAA champs. But they didn't want to talk about that. This is what's so unbelievable about the sport. Coach, you know. They talk about the time they were together, the time they were battling in the room. What an amazing sport. So to all you wrestlers, all you coaches, I want to thank you so much, especially the CYO coaches, YMCA coaches that have so much patience starting these little kids off. It's truly amazing. So I want to thank, for this award, this goes to St. Ward Wrestling. Thank you so much.
Room, team. I had 3 daughters, and my wife and 3 daughters, it was money. I'm proud to say that Greg and I have a lot in common. Neither one of us has a prostate. Okay, that's how I spend my time. Greg Wojciechowski earned his first championship when he won the Ohio State Heavyweight Championship In 1967, while wrestling at Toledo Whitmer High School, Wojciechowski repeated the next year as a state champion. For his college career, he stayed in Toledo by attending the University of Toledo. There, he continued his championship-winning ways with an NCAA heavyweight championship in 1971. He also was runner-up for that honor in 70 and 72. From 1970 to 1975, Wojciechowski was a four-time AAU champion in the heavyweight division. He went on to earn a spot on the 1980 U.S. Olympic team, but due to the United States boycott, did not compete. He was an alternate for the 84 and 88 U.S. Olympic wrestling teams. Wojciechowski then went into professional wrestling in the World Wrestling Association. Wrestling under the name of the Great Wojo, he won the WWA World Heavyweight title 3 times. After he retired from active competition, he coached wrestling at Libby High School and Barger High School, both in Toledo. For his tireless efforts on behalf of others, Greg Wojciechowski is presented the 2013 Ohio Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Accepting on behalf of Greg is Robin Brady.
Folks all know Greg couldn't be with us. He has 3 grandchildren getting their first baptism today. And so he's really excited about it. He was torn, obviously. We will be recognizing Greg Thursday, along with TD and Doc Leffler, former inductees, at Toledo at Foxfire Wrestling Club. I would say this about Greg, so that you can go away maybe with a smile on your face. Greg was the Great Wojo, and he was a professional wrestler. We had him out at Delta for a fundraiser, and I don't know, he had a big match with Shotgun Willie, and Shotgun Willie pulled the soap out and raked it in his eyes, and some little kid was going nuts and saying, you know, he's cheating, you know. He was going crazy, and this kid had a baseball in his hand. I don't know why he had a baseball in his hand, but he had a baseball. There's probably 600 people in our gym, and he's just going crazy, and Woj just staggering, you know, trying to get the blood or whatever out of his eyes, and then Shotgun Willie got a chair. And the kid just short-circuited and couldn't take it. And he took the baseball, and he ran to the ring, and he threw this baseball, and I know that was a real injury on Shotgun Willie. And he went down and closed and vanquished his opponent. It was wonderful for all the folks in Delta. Greg retained the Intercontinental Battle belt, whatever it was. I was telling the coaches at a seating meeting about this one time, and I said, so, Coach, you know, when Shotgun Willie had you there, and the kid from Delta hit him with the baseball, I said, you know, seriously, how do you decide who wins? And he looked at me funny, he goes, well, you know how they decide. You go in the ring, and the best athlete, the guy who has the best night wins. I said, come on, I know you're right there, you know, come on. Shotgun Willie's your buddy, right? I hate him, man. He's a tough opponent. And I kept tick-birding for a little bit, and he was getting a little annoyed. And I said, seriously, Greg. And I grabbed his arm, and I stomped it, and twisted it. Said, something like this? Is this how you do it? He goes, no. He says, all right, guys. And they're all starting to laugh. He grabbed somehow my arm in a hammer lock. And he starts twisting up and go, whoa, okay, hey, Greg, I get it. Come on. And he goes, seriously, he goes, watch Rayfield go fake into this pile of chairs. And he did like some sort of a snap-nair thing. He threw me into the chair. And I got up, I said, what's wrong with you? And he was still coming at me, and I was just like those guys going, and he goes, seriously, and it's all showing. And I said, you win. You are the champ. And so Greg probably would have, if he would have been here, he probably would have thrown me over into the wall or something. But he still reminds me of that time every time. So on behalf of Greg and his family, he is truly honored and thankful and really humbled by the recognition from the committee. So on behalf of Greg, I'll take his things to him, and we will present them on Thursday night. And have a celebration there. Thank you very much.
I can also attest to what a wonderful man Greg Wojciechowski is, and why do I say that? Because I had to wrestle him a lot, and I have trained with him a lot. And as Greg and every other coach here would tell you, if you wrestled hard with somebody and competed hard with somebody, you know them, and they know you. You know more about them than just wrestling. You gain a respect and an admiration for your fellow man because they can work hard and compete hard. That is probably the greatest legacy that this sport has. You will not win if you cannot train hard, and you will not win if you cannot compete hard. There are a lot of things in life I think you can win at without being able to. Wrestling is not one of them. Great men all, what a void we would have if none of these men here this evening would have chose wrestling as a time and place to fulfill their dreams. They have changed the lives of so many and have impacted in a dramatically passionate way in the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people. I would like to recognize coaches who are here this evening who have been, this is third class, 20 people have been recognized for a Lifetime Service Award. 2010, and some of them are here. Please stand up when I read your name. Dick Bonacci, Chris Ford, Harry Huska, Jim Humphrey, George Talbott, Richard Doc Leffler. 2012, we did not have a ceremony in 2011. Robert Healy, Gene Gibbons, Vincent Matteucci, Bob Stowe, Walt Talardic, and Bob Triano. 20 that have gone in, considering what a marvelous wrestling place this state is. There are hundreds of more that have the opportunity to come up here and to passionately and emotionally, as we saw today. Wrestling is in your soul. It is deep within you, and it never leaves. Thank you for being here today and helping me share with all these people a special, special time and experience in their life. We would like to have all of the inductees now come up, get your jacket. We'd like to take a picture together with everyone. Have a safe trip home. Thanks for being here.